Imagine a plan so ambitious it promises to disarm one of the most volatile regions in the world, but within days, it's already being undermined. That's exactly what's happening with Trump's Gaza disarmament proposal.
And it's not just the plan itself that's making waves. It's the reactions from groups like Hamas and Islamic Jihad that are turning this into a high-stakes geopolitical chess match.
Welcome to DeActa Daily Digest. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Juniper. Here are today's top stories.
So let's dive into this first story. A Saudi media outlet reported that Islamic Jihad has accepted Trump's disarmament plan for Gaza, but Hamas has reportedly refused and is redistributing weapons instead. This is a huge development, and it feels like it's already on shaky ground.
It really does. The plan itself is bold. It calls for the complete demilitarization of Hamas and other armed factions in Gaza. In exchange, Israeli forces would withdraw, and an international stabilization force would step in to oversee reconstruction. But the fact that Hamas is already redistributing rifles to its members, that's a clear signal they're not on board.
What's fascinating is how Hamas is framing this redistribution. They're calling the rifles personal weapons, which feels like a deliberate attempt to sidestep the disarmament process while still maintaining their military capabilities. It's a clever, albeit transparent move.
And it underscores just how deeply entrenched the mistrust is on all sides. For Hamas, disarming isn't just about giving up weapons, it's about relinquishing their identity as a resistance group. For Israel, the idea of withdrawing without concrete evidence of disarmament is a non-starter. It's a classic standoff.
And let's not forget the civilians in Gaza. They're the ones who stand to gain the most from reconstruction and stability, but they're also the ones who suffer the most when these plans fall apart. The promise of an international stabilization force sounds great on paper, but without trust and cooperation, it's hard to see how that would work in practice.
Trust really is the key here. And honestly, it feels like trust is in short supply. Israeli officials have already expressed skepticism, and Hamas's actions only add fuel to the fire. Meanwhile, Islamic Jihad's reported acceptance of the plan doesn't seem to carry enough weight to tip the scales.
What's interesting is how this ties into Trump's broader foreign policy strategy. This disarmament plan is bold, no doubt about it, but it also feels like a high-risk gamble. If it works, it could be a game changer. But if it fails, it could lead to even more instability in the region.
And that's the risk with any plan like this. It's not just about the immediate outcomes, it's about the long-term consequences. If Hamas digs in its heels and refuses to cooperate, what's the next step? Does Israel escalate? Does the U.S. double down? There are so many variables, and none of them are easy to predict.
It's a delicate situation, to say the least. And speaking of delicate situations, let's move on to our second story about Netanyahu and the Haredi arrest freezing law. This one is stirring up a lot of controversy, and for good reason.
Oh, absolutely. Netanyahu reportedly told advisors that he'd drop the law if re-elected, but critics are calling it an election ploy. It's a classic case of political maneuvering, and it's not sitting well with a lot of people.
The law itself is already controversial. It pauses arrests of Haredi men who evade military service, which has sparked criticism from all sides. Netanyahu framing it as a temporary measure to calm tensions doesn't seem to be convincing anyone.
And the timing is interesting here, too. The Knesset passed the law last month, but the High Court of Justice has put it on hold. So it's not even fully in effect. And yet it's already causing a firestorm.
What struck me was the criticism from military leaders. IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Eyal Zamir warned that the law could cause significant national security problems. That's a pretty dire assessment, and it highlights the broader issue of Israel's manpower shortages in the IDF.
Critics argue that the law does nothing to solve this problem and is more about appeasing Haredi coalition partners than addressing the real issue. And the opposition is not holding back. Leaders like Gadi Eisenkot and Yair Golan are accusing Netanyahu of spinning the issue for electoral gain.
What's interesting is how this ties into the larger debate about conscription in Israel. The idea of universal military service is deeply ingrained in Israeli society, but it's also a point of division. The Haredi community's exemption has been a flashpoint for years.
It's a delicate balance. On one hand, there's the need for fairness and shared responsibility. On the other, there's the importance of respecting religious traditions. Finding a middle ground is easier said than done.
And that brings us to our third story, which is all about skepticism. Specifically, American skepticism about artificial intelligence. This one's a bit of a shift in tone, but it's just as compelling.
Definitely. The Ipsos AI Monitor 2026 shows that Americans are more pessimistic about AI than people in many other countries. It's fascinating, especially considering the US is a leader in AI development.
Yeah, the data is telling. A plurality of Americans describe AI's current effect on society as mixed, but more people rate it negatively than positively. That's a pretty stark contrast to the optimism you see in other parts of the world.
What's really interesting is the specific concerns Americans have. They're particularly worried about online misinformation and threats to employment. These are big existential issues that strike at the heart of societal stability.
And it's not just Americans. The report notes similar skepticism in other English-speaking democracies like Canada, Australia, and Great Britain. There seems to be a cultural thread here.
Absolutely, and yet, despite these concerns, many American workers acknowledge the benefits of AI. About half say AI has saved them time at work, which is lower than the global average, but still significant.
It's a paradox, isn't it? People recognize the benefits, but remain wary of the broader implications. And then there's the issue of trust, or the lack of it, in political leadership on AI policy.
That's a big one. Neither Democrats nor Republicans have a clear advantage in public confidence on this issue. It's an area to watch, especially as AI continues to evolve and impact more aspects of daily life.
The skepticism seems to stem from broader social doubts, fears about job security, economic inequality, and existential risks. Until those concerns are addressed, it's hard to see public sentiment shifting dramatically.
And that's the crux of it. People need to see clear, tangible benefits from AI that outweigh the risks. Otherwise, the backlash could persist, especially in a country as influential as the US.
So what's the takeaway from all this? Whether it's Middle Eastern politics, Israeli conscription laws, or AI skepticism, trust and accountability seem to be the common threads.
Absolutely. Trust is the foundation for progress, and without it, even the best-laid plans can falter. It's a reminder that leadership matters, and so does listening to the people most affected by these decisions.
Well said. And on that note, we'll wrap it up for today. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.